Got a little surprise for you all from the Sharpening Bench. I would venture to guess most of you haven't seen one of these. But you're going to. And it's going to be cool. I promise. Stick with me, guys. Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 17 June 2014, and I got a little sharpening job in late last week from one of my YouTube viewers. First knife in from this guy. I believe his name is Chris. And it's a knife I had never seen or really even heard of before. You might recognize the pouch and the name on it, Oberland Arms. It is a German maker of customized and very expensive AR-15s and AR-15 accessories. At least that's what they're most famous for, I believe. They have contracted with makers a couple different folding tactical knives over the years. Some of you are probably familiar with the Boker Oberland Arms knife, a micarta handled drop point. This particular knife is not that knife. It's one I had not seen before, but has some familiar qualities. Let's open up the pouch and take a look. This one also with the Oberland Arms name designation on the blade, and let's see what, got a pretty cool little skull logo. The model is, well, it's a little hard to find on the website. You have to translate Oberland's German website. Best I can tell, it's referred to as the Titan SEPP, S-E-P-P. That sounds like it must be an acronym of some kind. This one not manufactured by Boker, and frankly, its manufacturer is not really anywhere on the knife. Let's see if we can analyze it a little bit and figure out where it came from. Well, let's see. We've got some nicely stonewashed 6AL4V titanium frame slabs, 3mm thick. We've got some very large, beefy two-piece barrels holding the knife together, one holding the wire clip on, which is reversible left to right. Look familiar? I think there is another German company making knives who released a folder about a year ago with some pretty similar construction. Here's another little hint, little clue for you Holmesian deducers of solutions. The blade steel is D2, produced by Stahl, S-T-A-H-L, which is probably a German company. Maybe Austrian, don't know. Fasteners and Construction, very much like the Pole Force Mike 1. D2 steel from Stahl, a pretty common steel for makers in Maniago, Italy. Is it made by Lion Steel? No! But we're getting warmer. Is it made by Bastinelli Creations? No! Red hot. How about Fox Cutlery? Wrong again. It is made in Maniago, Italy, however, by Tecnocut. And it shows its family resemblances, doesn't it? I think it's really cool, and I'm going to tell you why. pretty well executed titanium frame lock. This one has been well used. The edge had a fair amount of wear on it. Locks up at about 50% with really adequate lock bar tension. You got just the slightest hint of stick. That's probably because I used a lot of oil in the pivot. Let's see here. Yep. Still got a nice free dropper, although it's very tight. Detent is really adequate. I did put a little bit of tension on the lock bar from how it shipped to me. I thought it was a little floppy coming in. And I think over time that tension might be reduced by the user, so I set it up a little firm, which is okay. Unlike other Maniago produced knives, this blade does not ride on Teflon washers, but very Strider-like phosphor bronze. You know, these barrel pivots are pretty large in diameter, about 3/8 of an inch, or close to that, maybe 5/16. The washers have a pretty narrow section thickness radially, or from the center out, so this dimension, like Strider washers. Not a big surface that they ride on, but the OD is plenty adequate to support this blade. Let's talk about some dimensions here. We have sort of a hard use tactical blade, at least that's what it looks like, right? Big old pivot, big old fasteners, some large standoffs, lots of screws, black blade, big jimp bang. But look, we've got a super gorgeous drop point blade, 3.7 inches long with a nice swedge, brings it to a nice tiny fine piercing tip. The blade stock on this 3.7 inch blade only 3 millimeters thick, about 1/8 of an inch. We've got a hard use folding tactical knife that actually is made from stock that's the thickness a knife blade should be, not an axe or a pry bar. And it is almost full flat ground. Got about 1/4 inch of flat at the top for you wicked edge users. And this is the exciting part for me. It might not be exciting for you guys who like to, dig up rocks and pry doors open with your folding tactical knife, but it's only 1/8 of an inch thick at the spine. And guys, it's ground. I don't have a micrometer handy, but it's not 15 thousandths behind the edge. This bevel, my edge bevel, look how not broad it is. Guys, that's 15 degrees per side. And it's got a micro bevel on it, but it is extremely tiny at 19 degrees. I doubt if you can even pick it up. It's extremely tiny because I didn't want to wipe out the whole edge bevel putting the micro on. So basically you've got a 30-degree inclusive cutting edge with just the tiniest 38-degree inclusive micro bevel. And oh, you want to talk about some slicing. Did you hear anything? Probably not. Man, guys, that is not a testament to my sharpening skill. That just shows you thin cuts. Thin cuts. This knife is like scary. There aren't too many knives I handle, and I've sharpened, I don't know, maybe I've sharpened 1,000 knives in my life, I don't know. Very few of them, when I finish with them, do I maintain a mindful vigilance that I don't seriously hurt myself. This knife, as I handle it, I'm being careful, because if it takes a bite of skin, it's going till it hits bone. One of the probably top 3 sharpest knives that have ever left my bench will be this Oberland Arms Titan SEPP knife. Oh, I don't know if I would. I like them thin, guys, but I don't know if I would grind a tactical knife this thinly, especially out of D2. You know, maybe out of S35 or M390, but I'm not sure D2 is tough enough to handle this. And it did have a pretty good chunky section removed from the blade. In fact, it shipped to me with a little sticker on here that put with an arrow to where the damage was in the blade. It was kind of hard to tell where the factory grind was as far as an angle, but it had some use on it. But it is a wicked slicer. Handle length on this thing's 5 inches, so it's 8.7 inches overall length. I think they run about $200, maybe a little more if you can find them. And they are not prevalent in the States. Some of my European viewers, please weigh in the comments if you've got experience with these knives. Let us know what you think. I am really, really impressed. I don't know if there are, you know, American retailer websites who have these knives available, but I got to tell you, you know, having been an owner of a Lion Steel SR1A, a Pole Force Mike 1, having worked on several of those, along with some, oh gosh, what's that other, oh guys, what's the other, the Dendra knives, also produced by Lion Steel. This is the best executed Maniago knife that I've seen yet. Got a couple little issues. The centering isn't quite perfect. It kind of favors the offside ever so slightly. I think because this one was ground so thinly, it might be missing a little tip, and I don't know if you can see this, but I can catch my finger on that blade. It's not exactly buried in the handle. That's another kind of interesting thing. Because of this big barrel standoff with sort of this decorative collar around it, stainless steel tube, they sort of stopped that blade well short of the end of the handle. I think maybe I would like to have seen a smaller diameter construction fastener back here, let the blade go more deeply into the handle, and maybe utilize the length of the handle a little more. You know, maybe get out to close to a 4-inch blade in the same handle. That's kind of a nitpicky point, I think. The coating appears to be DLC. It is definitely not Cerakote. It's not some sprayed on junk finish. It's a lot like Spyderco's DLC. Gets real chalky if you clean it with a solvent. Gets real black when you apply a little oil. Might be a PVD coating of some kind. Blade finishing underneath seems to be really good. Thumb studs are removable with one T6 torque screw. So on the presentation side, you've got a pretty dressy looking stud. On the off side, you got a screw head. Look at the ergos a little bit on this 5.1 ounce knife, which is pretty svelte for a knife of the type and the size. I attribute that to the thin blade stock. You know, it's not a 6.5, 7 ounce knife. Very carryable. Ergos are pretty special. It's got sort of that same issue the Pole Force Mike 1 had. you kind of feel the lock bar move around when you grip the knife, which is a little disconcerting, I guess. You hear that when I grip it with my index finger? That's lock bar movement. It is what it is. Most titanium frame locks aren't Sebenzas, are they? But the ergos are great. The jimping is super comfortable but very positive. Grabs the thumb perfectly. The transition from the jimping on the handle to the blade is seamless. It feels the same. It's really good. In the hammer grip, again, pretty comfortable. It could, I don't know, I might like it to feel my hand a little better here in the index finger and the web of the hand, but not bad. The draw cut grip, super nice. I can feel the clip, but it's never in the way. Back over to the reverse grip. It's a little bit of an awkward one, not horrible, but the thumb doesn't quite know what to do. If you break over in this position, it kind of pulls the pinky back up the handle. If you put the pinky down in the choil, the thumb kind of doesn't know where to go, but it's not bad. Fit and finish are excellent, except for the issue of the tip being exposed and a little slight centering problem, but guys, that's not horrible, not horrible at all. In fact, it seems like the more I open and close it after reassembly, the better it gets. Something different for you tactical knife fans who actually like your knife to cut. You might want to check this thing out. It's at a price point far lower, I think, than a Lion Steel SR1. A little more expensive than the SR1A, the aluminum handled versions. Don't know where the Pull Force Mic 1s are selling right now, but it's every bit as good a knife as that. Very similar. I would probably, not probably, I would definitely prefer this D2 steel to the Nialox and the Mic 1, and I vastly prefer the blade grind. The Mic 1 is very thick behind the edge. I really appreciate the thinness of this knife. They're very, very similar knives in in execution and construction, but those little points of what makes a knife different, for me, they kind of all fall with the Oberland Arms Titan SEPP, built by Tecnocut. Going to ship this back to its owner tomorrow. I think vastly sharper than it's been for him in recent months. Be careful when you get this back, my friend. I'll try not to bleed on it before I get in the box. That's all for tonight, guys. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word is sharp.